We recap the Charlotte Hornets game, the last game of the year, plus take a look at rookie Mark Williams, all today on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
You're Locked On Hornets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
In a minute, cuz we live.
It's Locked On Hornets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Thanks for making us your first listen. We're free and available anywhere you get your podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code Locked On. That's PrizePicks.com, promo code Locked On. I'm Walker Mail. You can catch me on WFNZ from 12 to 3 on Wes and Walker, and that is Doug Branson. You can find his Substack, Every Hornets Boxscore, on his website, everyhornetsboxscore.com. Good to have you back, Doug. How are you doing, man? How are the days off?
Oh, good to be back. I'm done with the holidays, man. I've been telling people this. I'm done with the holidays. I'm just ready to have like a random Tuesday. It's just a normal Tuesday. It's in the middle of the week. There's no holiday to look forward to, no holiday to look back on. I'm just ready to get back to covering basketball every single day.
You just want a normal Tuesday off, or you just want a normal Tuesday back at work?
No, back at work. Just a normal Tuesday I'm ready to get back on the grind. Like these holidays, just everybody goes MIA. You can't get anything done. I'm just ready to get back to it.
It's true. It is true. But now we are back, and we are getting back to it. We are on the grind once again, and the grind for the Hornets starts in the year of 2023 tonight against the LA Lakers. We'll get to that in just a moment as well. But we got to have Doug's observations, and we have to recap the latest contest between the Hornets and the Nets. Yes, the Hornets lost 123-106 at the Spectrum Center. Tough shooting night for these guys once again. Gordon Hayward, 1 of 7. PJ Washington came back down 5-13. Terry Rozier continues to pile up what are some really awful shooting nights, 5 of 14 for him. And even LaMelo Ball, 7 of 19, is not one of his strongest shooting nights there as well. It's been kind of the story of this season as far as something that used to be a strength for this team that is no longer a strength, right? It is the three-point shooting, and it's the shooting overall. Reared its head again against Brooklyn to end out 2022.
It's kind of sad, right? Because it seems like they're finally figuring out the defensive end of the floor, and they're generating good looks, as Clifford has repeated over and over. And I think anybody watching closely can really see that there are a lot of wide open opportunities for this basketball team. They're moving the ball really well. Like if you look at the assist numbers, those look really, really good. And they're finding open shots and just not hitting them. And you have to wonder, is my analysis boring you? I just got a big old Jansky from Walker.
I tried to bring it in. I tried to bring in my yawn, and so it wasn't just going all over the place.
Well, that's Radio Walker. Radio Walker can get away with that. YouTube, Walker cannot get away with that.
I know. As soon as I did it, you laughed. I was like, "Damn, he saw." Damn.
I just want to see the feed. The video feed is actually to my right here, and so I caught it in the corner of my eye. Anyway,
okay. Go ahead, Doug, you were saying?
The bottom line is players that they've counted on in years past to knock down three-point shots, including Terry Rozier and Gordon Hayward, are just shooting really for their careers historically bad. And I don't know that there's any other explanation except maybe injuries throwing them into some kind of funk early on, and they're just now trying to play catch-up with it. But so far, Gordon Hayward, points per shot attempt, 103.3. That's 22nd percentile among forwards. Terry Rozier, 101.6. That's actually better. It had been sort of in the almost in the high 80s, low 90s, which is just awful, like last in the league. He's gone up to 22nd percentile among combo guards, 101.6. Even Kelly Oubre, who was doing really kind of the dirty work for the team when LaMelo was out, and now is dealing with a hand injury of his own. That may be some explanation there. 102.1, that's 16th percentile among wings. But these are all really typically like career bad numbers for these players, and it's hurting the Hornets, obviously.
Yeah, so I wonder, man, I wonder what can be done about it because, you know, you have LaMelo back. That was the theme. Once they have all of their players back, I think the numbers would go up. And LaMelo's been back for what? Has it been 10 games now? It's been enough of a sample size. You would like to see that trend up. Gordon Hayward is back. Terry Rozier is going back to somewhat of his normal role rather than having to be point guard Terry, because that was Terry's saving grace. It was the fact that he had to facilitate and be the lead guy where he's absolutely not that lead distributor. So when you get a connector and then when you get your main point guard and Terry is still shooting this way, I mean, Doug, you went over all the numbers, and not to pick on Terry because the shooting numbers have been bad all around, but still it's been awful for him, right? I mean, he's been a little bit worse than everyone else. In this last month, the numbers started to tick up just a bit. I mean, there was, I think 4 games ago, he was shooting about 36% from 3 on the month, which is better than what it has been. And then the last 4 games, 2 of 17 against Portland, 7 of 18 against Golden State, 3 of 11 against OKC, 5 of 14 against Brooklyn. The 3-point shots, hasn't shot anything above 25%, and that's what he did 1 of 4 against Brooklyn. That's the best game he's posted from 3 in the last 4 contests. It's Terry has been really hurting the team offensively, just throwing up a bunch of shots that just aren't going in right now. And while PJ has been a roller coaster, Gordon, I mean, for the most part, you don't see him have those types of games. Yeah, I mean, that's when you rely so much on your shooting from Terry, who had been one of the better 3-point shooters in the NBA, catch and shoot a couple of different areas, right? And the fact that now that is an absolute weakness, that's a big old turn for this team to experience and still try to perform well offensively.
Absolutely. The good news is, that he did have one of his better shooting games against the Lakers, and they play the Lakers tonight. So that's, I guess that's a positive.
Copy paste.
Yeah, exactly. What's really been interesting about LaMelo's return as it relates to the shooting on this team is that he has been, I think, the driving force behind why they've been getting better looks because of his ability to drive, draw the defense and then kick out. And he draws so much attention himself, and his 3-point shooting has been okay. It's oscillated between okay to really, really good, and he's been able to pull the defense out a little bit farther, giving a little bit more space for others to drive and then kick out. But they've been taking more 3-point shots, and those have been open 3-point shots, Walker, but they haven't been hitting them. And when you miss 3-point shots, open 3-point shots, and you miss them badly, those tend to lead to transition opportunities for the other team if they miss badly enough to kick out long. And that's, I think we've been seeing that too. That's hurt the defense. These like really bad 3-point misses turning into transition opportunities for the other team.
Well, and that's kind of been the case all year long, right? I mean, we looked these numbers up at the beginning of the season, and we were saying, okay, Steve Clifford at that time was catching criticism for his lack of offense, despite not having all of his guys. And we were looking at open shots, and the Charlotte Hornets were in the top 10 as far as open threes taken, and yet they were still so far down as far as the threes that they hit. I believe that's been a trend all year.
No, absolutely, it's only gotten better with LaMelo's return, and LaMelo is hitting open shots, I think. But just to give you some context, Walker, for how bad this has been, I've got the numbers here on Cleaning the Glass, which gets rid of garbage stats, tries to give you a little bit better look at what the numbers actually mean. And this year, they are last in the league in effective field goal percentage. They are 27th at the rim, which has been a problem for them even dating into the Borrego era when they were shooting better from 3. They just missed so many bunnies. And there was a particular point in the Brooklyn game, I think, in the third quarter, where 2 guys, I think it was Jalen McDaniels, I know it was Mason Plumlee, but Jalen McDaniels also missed a layup, and then Mason missed a putback. And it was just like, it was backbreaking. Those kind of plays where you have 2 opportunities at the rim, virtually unguarded, and you miss them. And then you give the ball to Kevin Durant or Kyrie Irving, who are just masters at sinking you, at daggers, at just burying your team. It's just backbreaking. But anyway, 30% or 30th in the league from 3 as well. Non-corner. Corner threes, they're a little bit better. But the shooting has just been awful. But here's the context. They haven't been this bad, Walker, at shooting threes at 32.3% since, keep scrolling, past 14-15, that Lance Stevenson year. You got to go all the way to 2011 and 2012. And if that's perking up, people are listening right now or watching going, 2011, 2012, what do I know that year? What is that year? Yeah. That's the 7-59 Bobcats.
That's where they are in shooting range right now. By the way, just going back to going up where the years are now, if you go to corner threes, 2 years ago, that's what we kept talking about. Or, I mean, even last year, we were discussing the lack of hitting corner threes and how
that was a
good they
last season
were.
thing for sure.
Well, yeah, and they were so good at it the year prior. They were in the 8th percentile, and they were towards at the top of the
Or
league.
eighth in these are ranks. So they were 8th in the league 2 years ago at corner threes at 41%. And then last season it dropped to 37.5%. That was good for 23rd in the league.
So they were ranked 8th, not 8th percentile, ranked 8th. And then you go back to non-corners. They were struggling from the corner the following year, but non-corner, they were 4th. And now there's just nothing going for them. So you at least had one saving grace in one of those categories. I mean, 2 years ago, that was where the real shooting began. That was a good year for him. And to be fair, by the way, I mentioned Terry being a little bit different than Gordon. It's just higher volume. Like Gordon Hayward is shooting atrociously from the 3-point line as well. 19.4 in this month. A lot of 1 of 4 or 0 of 4 performances from Gordon. So it's just less volume. So it's not as noticeable, but he's shooting extremely poorly from 3 as well.
It's nuts, man, because there's one outlier year for Gordon, which was 13-14. And I'm not sure. He played 77 games. So I don't know if there was injury context that he was playing through, but points per shot attempt were 104.4. That was below average. But really, since that time, he has been, really above average to well above average at points per shot attempt for his career. And it goes from last season, the last 2 seasons, 116, 114, drops all the way to 103.3. And I think so much of that is not being able to drill down enough 3-pointers. It's crazy.
On some serious usage too, by the way, throughout his career, and that's starting to go down. His usage right now is actually the lowest it's been in his career. So maybe,
and I think the reason for that, Walker, is because they rely so much on him for defense. Like you really can't run the offense through him. This really isn't even about LaMelo. I think this is about you can't run the offense through Gordon much because you've got to save up his energy because he's one of the few guys that you can put on. The best offensive player and expect him to play decent defense.
Okay, Gordon Hayward kind of trending towards the end of his career. What about somebody at the beginning of their career? Coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
Don't go to sleep on the Hornets just yet.
We're going to talk more about rookie Mark Williams, not only his great game against OKC, maybe get Doug's thoughts on that, but we'll also take a look at what he did against the Brooklyn Nets on New Year's Eve. That's still to come. But not before we talk about PrizePicks. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, and this is how it works. You get to pick 2 to 6 players, and if they score more or less than their PrizePicks projection, you can win up to 25 times your money on any entry. No competing against other people. It's just you versus the projections available. And they offer projections on any sport you watch. That includes the NBA, the NFL, MLB, college, men's and women's basketball, soccer, WNBA, esports, disc golf, Euro basketball, cricket. There's so many other sports that you can get involved in. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's that easy. You have safe and fast withdrawals, and you're currently operational in over 30 states, even Canada as well. So you can check out PrizePicks there. Download the PrizePicks app or go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code Locked On. And if you deposit $100, PrizePicks gives you $100. If you deposit $50, PrizePicks gives you $50. Don't forget to enter promo code Locked On at sign up for an instant deposit match up to $100. Mark Williams coming up next.
This is Locked On Hornets.
To start this off, we all know about LeBron and how he built a school and it got a lot of fanfare. By the time 2019 closes, Bismack Biyombo is planning to have 6 schools.
Take that, LeBron.
It's time for more of the Locked On Hornets podcast.
Thanks for making Locked On Hornets your first listen today. Make your second listen. Game to game NBA. Every moment, every top performance, every result. Locked On Game to Game covers every game from across the NBA with local analysis that only Locked On can deliver. All right, Doug. Mark Williams. Awesome game against OKC. 17 points, 13 rebounds. And we did the whole Doug's text segment on Friday. And you told me to tell the people that great game for Mark Williams. You're really happy for him. but OKC is teeny weeny, and that's why he was
Bitty.
partly, yeah, and that's in part why he was so good.
I think I said
Brooklyn,
fun-sized.
no, I don't know. Teeny weeny sounded better, so I rolled with it. You should have taken it. That's better. That's even creative. So if you want to go compare OKC to Brooklyn, it's not like they have these monsters down low. I mean, they do have Claxton, they have some centers, but they're bigger than OKC is for sure. And Mark did not put up a 17-13 game, had 4 turnovers, wasn't perfect from the field, still had some pretty nice offensive moments, in my opinion, for sure. Had the spin, had some really nice footwork, I think. And also, I think did play aggressive. I don't think he was soft by any means, especially with some of the offensive buckets that he was able to hit, but clearly not the same type of game against OKC. What have you noticed from Mark as you've been out for a little bit?
Well, so Brooklyn did go small. Their bench is small. When they take Claxton off the floor, they don't really replace him. They go Kevin Durant's the tallest guy on the floor, and then I think Watanabe was the guy that Mark Williams was matched up with in those smaller lineups. But what you saw was that Mark Williams, the start that he had offensively in that second quarter, that one play where he set the screen, he slipped, then he caught the ball, great pass from LaMelo, spun and scored. The body control, so outstanding from Mark Williams. There's so many little things that you can pick out from Mark's offensive and defensive game that you go, ooh, yeah, if that's consistent, if you do that consistently against all kinds of different lineups, then suddenly you're one of the impact players at the center position. But I think what you saw in this game was that Brooklyn was able to then get Claxton back on the floor. And especially in the third quarter, they made some, even when Claxton wasn't on the floor, end of third quarter, beginning of fourth quarter, they were able to make some adjustments on Mark. They sent a double his way and he turned the basketball over. He's been able to surprise some teams because teams haven't gotten a good look at him. And he's been able to do some exciting things. And I think that's what Clifford was trying to tell everyone after OKC is 17-13. That shows you the talent. It's also about matchups. It's also about the fact that, once you start to play well, teams are going to make adjustments. And then how do you deal with those adjustments? And he's dealing with them like an NBA rookie deals with them. But Walker, here's the important thing. There are enough exciting things that I've seen so far, even in this small sample size, that makes me confident that he can develop, not that he will develop, that's up to him, but that he can develop into an impact player at the center position, something this Hornets team has not had in a long time, and something I never saw, by the way, from some of the other center prospects that they've brought in, like Frank Kaminsky.
Yeah. How about, call him out. How about,
well, I wasn't even calling. I'm just saying, I wasn't even trying to do that as a joke.
Put it as the title,
I just never
Doug
saw
calls out Frank Kaminsky. That's what you did.
Well, yeah, but it's going to be on the ESPN crawl. No, but I never saw those kinds of things from Frank Kaminsky. This is the bottom line.
Well, how about Mark Williams? You said got called for, or the double team went over there to him, Mark Williams, great hands that you've mentioned on the text, right? And you're seeing some of that as well. The bucket that you were talking about where he spins, it actually finishes with his left hand, mind you, kind of going away from the basket a little bit. Yeah, it's really impressive. If we're going to talk about Mark Williams, and so I got really excited after that game against OKC. And to me, maybe I should address it more, but to me, the caveat is so understood of him being a rookie in his fourth game coming back, So I'm going to be really excited under the confines of him playing his fourth legitimate game where he's actually getting, legitimate bench minutes, 15 to 20, where in actual meaningful time. And he gives you 17 and 13. Yes, against OKC, but you kind of want him to go for 17 points and 13 rebounds against the Thunder. Honestly, even against a team that small, then I would have been cool with 10 and 10, right? But the fact that he actually does go perfect from the field, he does everything that you give him on his checklist, and then he crushes it. That's what's fantastic to watch. And so Steve Clifford can remind us all that he's a rookie. I hope that we don't really need the reminding. I hope that we can get excited because he's doing more good than bad right now, at least for us to feel good about his future. And yeah, there's still going to be a lot of questions, as there is for every single player that is so young. But if he's forcing up a lot of shots and, missing on higher volume and just getting destroyed in pick and roll coverage, which is something that people even exploited in college. Like, that was a legitimate concern coming out of college for Mark Williams. And I don't think that he's just getting destroyed and put in a spin cycle right now. Even down low, he's still affecting what the decisions of some of these other guys. Like, I'm ready. I'm fine with Mark Williams.
Well, so there's two things that I saw defensively that I think have to be figured out going forward. And that's one where Watanabe hit 2 consecutive 3-point shots, I believe, to end that third quarter. And that the end of that third quarter is what Steve Clifford pointed to as like why they lost the game. It really got out of hand at that point. It wasn't all Mark Williams, but that lineup, which was, I think, Gordon, it was Gordon and the bench, which was Mark, Teo, who didn't shoot very well in this game, and then Jalen and JT Thor, who is, I mean, that's going to be third segment, straight observations, but boy, JT Thor, wow. But so on one of those 3-point shots, it was, again, Mark on Watanabe. Watanabe posted up in the corner, and then Mark overhelps. Jalen was running stride for stride with Seth Curry, and didn't need to help that far down, really wasn't doing anything, but getting too far away from Watanabe, and then he could not recover to the corner. So that's one thing. When they go small on Mark Williams, he's got to really be disciplined about when he helps and how far he helps, because teams are going to look to pass to whoever he's on, especially if that player can shoot threes. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, there was a block opportunity that he had in this game, and I noted in my everyhornetsboxscore.com, my game notes. So if you want to take a look, I even linked the play. This was in the fourth quarter. It was 8:10 to go in the fourth quarter. And there's a drive on I believe it was Jalen McDaniels, and there's a blow by. Mark Williams is the help defender. And he tries to kind of move stride to stride and takes one big stride towards the basket and sort of tries to use his length to almost chase down the block, and misses the timing and just sort of flails at the ball and doesn't do anything. And if you compare that to several plays later, Claxton on the help defense getting his body over early, and instead of trying to run with the offensive player and recover with the length, he just goes straight up body to body and blocks the shot. And he had like 6 or 7 blocks in this game. So that's something else. Like, you know, he can't depend on his length. He's got to make sure that he's moving his feet, getting in position early for that help defense block. So just kind of little things. And we're pointing them out because he is a rookie, because these are things that we're going to look to next season and go, hey, remember when we were talking about that in season 1? Look how much better he is in season 2. And that's okay.
Yeah, it is okay. It's certainly not the bad feeling that you had at the beginning of the season when Mark Williams was playing in the G League, and we all wanted to see him, maybe understanding the development process, but you certainly wanted to see him get some run. And right now he flat out beat Nick Richards in backup center minutes the other night, despite Nick Richards being available. Played 3 minutes, did Richards in this game against Nets.
And that's about Nick Richards, I think. Nick Richards he's made some big strides this season too, but I think Nick Richards left enough gaps in his game that allowed this decision to happen in terms of defensive rebounding, in terms of physicality. It wasn't exactly what Steve Clifford was looking for from Nick Richards, and I think if he improves those things, then I think Nick Richards eventually this season starts and Mark Williams is the backup. And I think you're going to see these kinds of positives and negatives all through the season with Mark Williams. I'm just trying to prepare people that he's not like Clint Capella right now. Like, he's going to be a developing piece for multiple seasons. I don't think he's going to be fully formed next season, but he will get better, I think. And Steve Clifford seems confident about that. He always says how smart he is and how hard he's working. So, I'm super confident, but there will be issues when this team eventually does come to its senses and understands that this season is not really about winning.
Well, and hopefully Mark Williams can develop, even though we've talked about it a million times. Developing is not necessarily an escalator that is constantly moving up and then you reach your peak at your prime. That's not exactly how it always works out. You certainly hope that he gets better in his second year than some of these other rookies have. So coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast. Sorry.
Don't go to sleep on the Hornets just yet.
Well, I was just going to say, like, sometimes you say something really interesting and your co-host perks up. And then sometimes you say something really interesting and your co-host yawns. Like, it's up and down. It's not an escalator. Sometimes things go well, sometimes they don't.
Yeah, we'll talk about maybe some of the yawn performances from bench players, young guys that are playing with this team. We'll talk about their development moving forward. This episode is brought to you by Built Bar. Yes, Built Bar is back, and we love them on Locked On. And if you're looking for a delicious treat, but don't want all of the fat and the calories, then you gotta try a Built Bar. What makes Built Bar so good is they're covered in 100% real chocolate. Real chocolate, that's right. And they come in unbelievable flavors like churro, peanut butter brownie, and coconut almond. I'm not sure how Built does it, but these bars taste like a candy bar while maintaining amazing macros. And what's even better is that they're healthy. Only 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, with a whopping 17 grams of protein. If you're close to a Sam's Club, by the way, you can run in and grab a 13-bar box with their hit flavors like brownie batter and churro that I just mentioned. You can thank me later if you just go buy those things in bulk, man. We've done that quite a bit, and they are awesome. So again, try Built Bars. Not only do they taste extremely good, but they're also healthy for you as well. So thanks again to Built Bar. Last segment coming up next. Locked On Hornets
Is Locked On Hornets.
But I have seen him go all the way up to number 10. That was. Is there a warning? Do we need to get out of here?
Okay, here's the thing. I don't know if you heard, but my watch went off, and I was trying to silence it, and then I accidentally hit ping the phone, and then the phone pinged, and now here we are. I'm doing my best, man.
It seems like you're doing your very worst.
Well, sometimes
it seems like I'm actively fighting you today to move.
Sometimes my best is my worst.
It's time for more of the Locked On Hornets podcast.
All right, Doug, let's go to the notebook, something you might find on everyhornetsboxscore.com, and kind of empty it out, see some of your observations. One thing I do know, we talked about it against OKC, talked a little bit about against the Nets, kind of mentioning that as well. Man, JT Thor got 16 minutes against Brooklyn, and the more Thor movement. I mean, is that thing down? I mean, at what point does that just get disbanded? Because I know that you were the president, and I subscribed. I was showing up to the meetings. You had pretty much put your heels in the cement that was the leader of the more Thor movement, and so I relented. But now it's like, well, yeah, I wanted nothing to do with this. Now I'm just kind of backing away despite being at the meetings. I just want to know if that has disbanded or if you guys are still meeting.
It's worse than that. I mean, you go to the website. If you go to morethor.com, it's forbidden access 404. The servers are down.
Does anybody have a Substack, morethor.com? Does it?
No,
Okay.
that's down. That's down too. The feds are investigating. I'm like SBF. They're carrying me out in handcuffs at a Bahamian prison. Like it's just bad at this point. I mean, JT Thor, look.
Yeah, the papers are still flying in the cubicles, right? Because we show up and then they're just starting to descend upon the floors of the office.
Yeah, no, it's awful. I mean, JT Thor has broken my spirit, and I feel bad for him. I feel bad for him, honestly, because, if you look at his G League numbers, they're gaudy. Like, he goes to the G League and he just dominates. And then he gets his opportunity in the NBA, and, Rod Boone mentioned it. I think you can see it. His confidence doesn't look very good. When he shoots the basketball, it's just like the moment is overwhelming him. He had that just horrible air ball, a wide open 3-point shot, and it's super wide open for a reason, right? Because teams do scouting reports, and I think there's, so if JT Thor's out there, right, because Kelly Oubre's hurt, and so I think Clifford's calculation here is JT Thor gives me a little bit more defense. I'm trying to improve the defense. Whereas the alternative would be to go to James Bouknight for more minutes. And Bouknight has the potential to help you offensively, though he's had his struggles shooting the basketball this season, but he doesn't help you at all defensively. And when you're already dealing with issues in the starting lineup at the guard position defensively, then, you're looking for some kind of answer on your bench. And JT Thor is just, his offense is so, we often talk about on this show players historically for the Hornets who have been so bad defensively, but their offense doesn't make up for how bad they are defensively. With JT Thor, it's the opposite, right? His offense has been so bad that his defense can't make up for it. So it's just been hard to watch.
Yeah, very wrong on the type of role I thought JT Thor was going to have this season. And you know what? These problems showed up right away in Summer League. I mean, we expected him to be very good. And remember, he absolutely was not. I think there was there maybe 1 or 2 games in the bottom half of that handful that they played, that was okay, but we were stretching. Like, hey, he started to play a little bit better, but he still wasn't playing to the level that we all wanted to see him in summer league. And we also thought he was going to be a Steve Clifford guy. Clifford gave him a little bit of an opportunity at the beginning of the season. I mean, I think the most he would play for the most part is maybe 8 minutes per contest, and that was about it, and eventually fell out of favor because he just wasn't playing well. Yeah, look, as we talk about, not an escalator, but boy, the escalator just stopped right away. I mean, it's not.
Yeah, it's broken down. They've got the little yellow signs up. Don't walk on this escalator. It is broken. And so I think Clifford should play James Bouknight, right? I mean, I just think like if JT Thor is going to be this bad on offense, and when you break the lineup, you break the game. JT Thor is part of that, and I think you got to go ahead and give James Bouknight another shot to come back in and see if he can help this team offensively enough to make up for the fact that you're going to lose a little bit of length and size and defense, and go for it. Like, I understand what you're giving up and what you're bringing in, but I just think at this point you've got to give Bouknight another shot. As long you're tinkering with the lineup anyway. If Kelly Oubre remains out, like if Kelly Oubre comes back, then problem solved. I think so. Yeah, it's been bad. What are you seeing? What are you seeing in these games? What are your stray observations?
Well, I mean, one that I know you had planned to talk about as well, but PJ Washington, as we discussed, so many of these guys getting into different roles once players come back. PJ Washington and his play might be the best example of someone being helped by LaMelo, Terry, Gordon, their presence. It's exactly what we thought. PJ, it's fine to test that out. You were in the experimental stage of PJ Washington's career the first 3 seasons, and then you kind of even had to do that at the beginning of this year because of all of the problems. And you know what? PJ had some of his success being an ISO guy, actually going to him. The first damn game of the season, PJ's hitting step back threes against Golden State. 6th game of the year, he's scoring 31 points on a big upset victory. And as we talk about, consistently, it just wasn't going to happen where he had to play that type of role. But since you've had more of these players come back from injury, PJ Washington has now had 6 straight games in double figures. He's had much more of the bright games against the Lakers, against the Trailblazers, 8 and 9 of 13, 10 of 13 against OKC. And he's actually taking a very consistent amount of shots per game. So 13, 13, 14, 13, 13. Those are the amount of field goal attempts that he's had in each of the last 6 games. So yeah, not a great outing shooting wise for him against Brooklyn. Only 1 of 4 from 3. That wasn't very good. But still, if we're going over the last 5 games or so from PJ, he's just playing better than what he was when he was asked to do a whole lot more.
Yeah, and when we talk about the roller coaster, it really is like he's either going to have an excellent game in terms of points per shot attempt, or he's going to have a really awful one. Like it's either going to be in the top 15 percentile, or it's going to be in the bottom 25. Like he doesn't have a lot of sort of average offensive games. But I've got his game log here up from Cleaning the Glass, and just to illustrate his changing role, look at the beginning of the season through the game against the New York Knicks on December 9th. And it's just high usage all the way through. It got higher as that time went on. And then you can see if you float up to the past 5 games, his usage, which was like in the mid 20s, like 25%, 26%, which is high. And it's floated down into like 17, 16, 15, 11. He did have high usage against LA because he was just scorching hot and they were just feeding him the ball because he was knocking down shots. But you can see as his usage has dropped, generally, he's becoming a better player. And I think this is sort of the maximum role for PJ Washington. I absolutely agree. And he's moving the basketball well. He's been doing that generally all season, but you can see his assist percentage early in the season was a lot higher because, again, the ball was in his hands so much, and he was moving it effectively. But you really want the ball in his hands a moderate amount so that you don't have these sort of 0 for 13 opportunities from him.
Well, and again, in a contract year, it's not like a player is going to love admitting, if you ask me to do less, then I'll thrive. They want to be able to handle all of the different responsibilities you throw at them. The agent's probably pretty happy though, because the agent cares about making bank, baby. And if PJ Washington is going to be a better player and probably get a little closer to that 20 million asking price by having higher percentages, I know that the usage should come sometimes when you're talking about money that high, but not at the expense of production, which is absolutely what was happening with PJ. So if you show out on defense and often, I mean, I'm not saying he's going to get to 20, but he's going to get closer to that than he was with high usage percentage.
Well, I think the team really wins here for not giving into that demand because they've gotten the opportunity because he's been healthy and because others haven't been healthy. They've been able to essentially test out the theory. Okay, what happens when you give the ball to him more? Like, you can't really do that if everybody's healthy. You can't tinker in that way. You can't experiment in that way. But because everyone was injured, you got an opportunity to see what he could do. And it was like, oh, it was good there at the beginning of the season, but it got a lot worse.
You have flashes, and that's about it.
Yeah.
Like, it's nothing you can rely on.
Right. And so you got to see that, and they have the information they need to make an educated choice at the end of the season about what they want to do, how hard they want to go at retaining PJ Washington. And, hopefully they stick to that and don't, if another team comes along and says, well, actually, we think that he can do it, and that was just an anomaly. Well, let them take that chance. I think you let them take that chance,
or if they just really value what he has now. Yeah, I mean, but right, 100%. Playing better though, it's nice to see PJ have better, more hot games than the cold ones. Because boy, that slump, it was long lasting for PJ. Seems to be kind of out of it, but the roller coaster, it can descend for sure.
One more observation for you, really quickly.
Okay.
So we joked a little bit earlier in the season about Steve Clifford just hitting the eject button, just being like, look, I'm not here for this. I'm not here for a rebuild. I didn't sign up for this. I don't want to do this anymore. Just getting really frustrated with the team construction and the bad injury luck. Well, Steve Clifford has remained faithful to this team and is going out there in front of the media and, defending his team and doing all of the right things. And all the players are essentially drama free. You haven't seen any drama between him and LaMelo yet. And on the other side, you look at Atlanta, the little I-85 rivalry, and that all of that's happening in Atlanta, right? I mean, you've got Trae Young not showing up. You got Nate McMillan saying, look, I'll resign. I will quit right now. So, of all the things that have gone wrong in Hornets land, it's been a tough season. It's been a bad luck season and off season. But they are, to their credit, they're staying together. It hasn't gone like full dysfunctional family yet.
No, it's not been full dysfunctional family. They're still, 10-27 right now. They're above the Detroit Pistons in the standings. They are 3 games back of Orlando, who right now sits in that 13 seed. So that's where they are. And, lottery pick, whatever, man. Like, we'll ride the wave, baby. That's what we're going to do with the Charlotte Hornets team. And at least it's not full team dysfunction. That'll do it for Locked On Hornets. Thanks for joining us and making us your first listen. Now make your second listen. Game to game NBA. Every moment, every top performance, every result. Locked On Game to Game covers every game from across the NBA with local analysis that only Locked On can deliver. Follow Game to Game on Locked On NBA. Available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcast. Have a great rest of your day. We'll be back with you tomorrow to recap the Lakers contest.